Coming up, oh, what a week. What you may have missed from Oshkosh and the airplane that everyone is talking about.
Plus, members of UK's Parliament take some notes from AOPA and a DIY heads-up display for a price you won't believe.
Plus, splashing out of the sea base at Oshkosh, AOPA Live this week begins in just a moment.
Celebrate 20 years with Sonex Aircraft by building and flying your dream. Quick handling, fun, and capable kit aircraft models to suit your flying passions. Get the best performance per dollar with Sonex Aircraft.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Tom Haynes and Melissa Redinger.
What a terrific week. We've barely caught up on sleep and laundry, but hey, already looking forward to next AirVenture.
Thanks for joining us. We've got a look at things you might have missed, including Draco, the turboprop Wilga. You've got to see this to believe it, and we'll bring it to you a little later in the show.
And speaking of AirVenture, some international visitors had a chance to see it for the first time last week. British officials from the all-party parliamentary group on general aviation visited Oshkosh, then they stopped by AOPA. The group is the UK equivalent of the General Aviation Caucus we have in Congress. The leaders wanted to see how our two countries could collaborate on growing aviation worldwide. Grant Shops is chair of the group. He says the trip is a great opportunity to learn from each other.
The really interesting thing is just to kind of learn from each other, and particularly since we're a parliamentary group, we're politicians, right? So what's really interesting to see is, how have the battles been fought on the Hill here? And what have we done back home? And there's some really interesting examples. We've talked about things like airspace, which has been a fascinating discussion. There's a big campaign here to stop the privatization of airspace. In fact, in the UK, it is already privatized, but it was never a very big issue for general aviation, and actually that was fascinating.
AOPA President and CEO Mark Baker says the importance of general aviation is getting some long overdue attention around the globe.
I think the world has recognized GA, grassroots aviation, is a pathway for some of the commercial needs in aviation, military needs in aviation. And I think it's been kind of lost. And I think that everybody understands there's going to be a global need for aviators, mechanics, people to support aviation. And they're trying to find ways to enhance that kind of fertile field called general aviation. So it's good to see. It's about darn time.
The members of Parliament also got a tour of the You Can Fly Academy and learned about AOPA's efforts to grow the pilot population.
And great news for one of the schools using AOPA's high school STEM curriculum developed by the You Can Fly team. New York City just announced that it'll invest $2.65 million in the Gregorio Luperon High School for Science and Mathematics. The school is developing an aviation program using AOPA's curriculum, and the money from the city will help start the program and includes a flight simulator. We talked to one of the teachers about why the school chose AOPA's curriculum.
For us, is the exposure. Youngsters today they have vague ideas of what they want, and often graduate from high school without understanding exactly what they want to do and what career path to choose from. So exposing them early on will give them an opportunity to see if that is something that piques their interest. The most important thing is to have the youngster be inspired.
Gregorio Luperon will be using the high school curriculum for the first time this year. The curriculum is just one part of AOPA's You Can Fly program. That's our initiative to grow the pilot population. You Can Fly is funded through generous donations to the AOPA Foundation. And one of our own will be serving on the National Transportation Safety Board. Last week, the Senate confirmed Bruce Landsberg to serve on the NTSB. And if that name sounds familiar, it should. Bruce headed up the AOPA Air Safety Institute from 1992 to 2014. And he's got lots of ideas on the things he wants to do to improve general aviation safety.
There are several areas that I'd like to hopefully make a difference. One is to improve the quality of general aviation investigation. And again, I think it's good now. I think it can be better, particularly as I've said, in the area of engine monitoring and things of that nature, which will allow us then to get more practical airworthiness directives and also to allow people to be preemptive. So if an engine starts to fail, you know about it hours and months before it actually does, so that corrective action can be taken. I'm also very interested in how drones and or UASs, as they refer to them, integrate into the airspace. I think it's probably only a matter of time before we have a collision with a manned aircraft, and that's going to be a bad situation. I've personally had a close encounter with a drone at 1,900 feet, climbing out of our airport here in South Carolina, so I'm sensitive to that.
Bruce is a Bonanza owner, a former Air Force officer, and he also worked for Cessna and Flight Safety International, and he's not the least bit shy in his advocacy for safety. And that's not an understatement.
That is not an understatement. You always know where Bruce stands on stuff, so that'll be refreshing in Washington.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be good for everybody.
It will be. Big changes coming to the city by the bay. Forget the flowers in your hair. If you're going to San Francisco, you're going to need a new understanding of the airspace. The Class Bravo airspace has been redesigned and effective August 16th will become a bit more VFR friendly. Some of the changes include a more compact configuration. There are new VFR flyways and transition routes. AOPA advocated for you in this redesign. The changes should make the area easier for GA pilots.
So it's interesting. We think it makes it easier. It does make the airspace perhaps a little more complex from the old days of the upside-down wedding cake.
Yes.
And I can tell you that is the most inefficient way to
Right.
protect Class B airspace.
Right.
There's a lot of dead airspace in that wedding cake design. And with the advent of GPS and other ways to make navigation easier, it has gotten a little more complex in congested areas, but we also have a lot more ways to transition that airspace. So I think it's a good compromise.
We do, and if anybody's using a map, moving map, which a lot of people are these days, it's a lot easier to see where you are, and so it is certainly more efficient use of the airspace.
Absolutely is.
Well, hey, coming up, you see the products, now find the amazing story of the boy CEO behind them.
Plus, it's a fire-breathing dragon of an airplane. We dance with Draco.
You always knew it was your perfect airplane. Now it can have the perfect panel. Garmin G500 TXI and Garmin G600 TXI, the next generation of flight displays.
Welcome back. Building or rehabbing your own airplane is no small task. Often it takes years, but the Utah man you're about to meet is used to doing things in record time. After flying through a total redesign, he actually flew himself into another coveted prize recently. AOPA Live's Paul Moses caught up with Mike Beatty and his family.
It looks like a bird of prey that's about to swoop down for the kill. This one-time Wilga turned into a short takeoff and landing champion by seasoned backcountry pilot Mike Beatty. From piston-powered to turboprop Pratt PT6, he transformed Wimp to Wow. The conversion from 250 to 680 horsepower, giving him, for all intents and purposes, a 1-to-1 thrust-to-weight ratio. To say he modified the airframe, an understatement.
We changed the wing. I made it my own airfoil, added 35 square feet of wing area, changed the flaps, made them bigger, changed the ailerons, made them bigger depth and length.
Like his plane, Mike's story is really pretty unique. He and his twin brother are successful serial entrepreneurs. They own Best Tugs and a company that does environmental cleanup, mostly for the oil industry. But they got bit by the aviation bug at the same time. It was one of those bizarre twin moments.
My brother and I had never talked about flying. I jumped in a plane with my father-in-law, who's a pilot. My mother-in-law is a pilot. We flew to an air show. I'd never been to one. And I got there, and all day, all I could think is, I think I want to get my license. Randomly, he called me that day and said, Mike, I'm so excited. I've been thinking about something all day, and you won't believe what it is. And I said, no, wait, I got to tell you what I want to do. And he goes, no, I'm first. I'm like, okay, go ahead. He had no idea I had gone to an air show. No clue. And he says, Mike, I wanted to go to work, and I thought, you know what? Maybe I should learn to fly. And he says, I kept thinking about it. So during lunch, I ran to the local airport, and I found a guy who's an instructor, and he can teach us how to fly. And there's a plane here, I think we should buy it. It's a Cessna 172. Let's get our license. And I said, you kidding me? Do it.
Today, they share campsites at Oshkosh. While Mike flew in Draco, his wife and their boys made the motor coach trek from Utah. Tooling around this temporary town, they share their passion for flight. They also share memories only backcountry flying can help make real.
Kind of hard to explain, it's just something you have to experience.
We go to a bunch of places that don't have roads, So that's, I mean, that's already a big one. We go out to these huge open fields next to some mountains, and you know, now we're camping there. We got a plane, so.
It's amazing what happens when you get your pilot's license. The world becomes a lot smaller, and you can access a lot more spaces than you used to be able to, and a lot faster. And so it's been really nice for our family as a bonding thing too. And there's so many different things with aviation, so many different platforms in aviation.
The Draco is just one of several aircraft that Mike owns, including a helicopter, a jet, and a Lancer Legacy with which he set several land speed records.
Beatty and Turbulence hold transcontinental and closed course records. But it's his latest trophy, winning the heavy class short takeoff and landing competition at AirVenture, that made all those sleepless nights, though normal for him, quite fulfilling.
I tend to not sleep much. I've never really needed a lot of sleep. So I'll spend time with my family, with my work, and then I'll go down and spend 8-10 hours on my plane. And on weekends, I'll spend 20 to 22 hours a day. And I usually only need 3 or 4 hours sleep a night max. And I can do 2 and 3 days straight without sleep. And so I've always been that way. I don't know why. And it works for me because I can knock out a plane like this in 5 months. So this was a 5-month build for me.
So you run hard and fly slow?
Yes, and occasionally fast.
Paul Moses, AOPA Live.
Mike and his brother also volunteer as search and rescue pilots in the Utah mountains. His wife, she's also a pilot. She actually earned her wings as a birthday surprise for her husband. You'll find that story and more about the Beattys in the latest videos section of the AOPA Live homepage.
And now something from an earlier time. Kip Aero came to AirVenture to show off their Sopwith kit plane. The Sopwith is known for its role as a fighter in World War I. We talked to the president of Kip Aero about what makes the airplane unique.
So right now you're standing in front of a Sopwith 1.5 strutter, and this is built using the original drawings. And so every engineering drawing we use is dated 1916, 1917. So this is made exactly like the original airplanes. The reason we picked Sopwith is actually one of the best flying airplanes of the Great War era. So it has docile flying characteristics, very maneuverable, doesn't have many of the vices that you've heard about other planes. Snoopy flew a Sopwith, so I'm sure everybody wants to fly the same plane that Snoopy did. But the cool thing is, if you want to know what it's like to fly an early aircraft, you need to build it exactly the way they built an early aircraft.
The cost for a kit is around $100,000 plus the engine and avionics. And speaking of warbirds, a mini B-17 caught the attention of the crowds at Oshkosh. AOPA Live's Josh Cochran has the story about the man who built it.
When Jack Bally told his friends he was going to build a 1/3 scale B-17, they didn't believe he could do it.
If you can't build that, you ain't smart enough, you SOB, you know.
Well, he sure proved them wrong. It may have taken 17 years, but Bally brought his bomber to AirVenture this year. It took thousands of hours to build. Bally took the designs from a smaller RC B-17 and scaled them up. He used 4 Heath engines to power the airplane, and everything is to scale except the pilot. Bally ran into a number of design challenges along the way, but he never gave up.
It was a lot of years of a lot of fun. I never wanted to quit.
And for pilot Richard Cozy, Bally's bomber is rewarding to fly.
It was a highlight of my career. You know, I got 16,000 hours in the sky, flew in Alaska 11 years. I got 6,000 hours Alaska time. I'm flying 4-engine jets all over the world and Twin Beaches. You know, this is a nice little airplane. It's a happy little airplane. It has little roll characteristics through the air, but everybody thinks I'm waving at them, and I just say it's a happy little bomber flying through the air, so.
And the airplane has received a huge response from the public. It is especially meaningful for veterans who served in the B-17.
On the wall of his workshop, he had a picture of Keith Ferris's painting, Fortresses Under Fire. As in the early parts of the build, he had B-17 or former B-17 pilots that actually come in and visit. But as they scanned, they would see that picture. And many times they would come back with tears in their eyes after a couple minutes, wiping the tears away, saying, that's the way it really was. And they heard of this being built. And to find a real one, to be able to walk around a real one is very difficult. Very few of them around. And they were able to come and sit down and talk about this one. And so it would open up memories from the past that they have brought back just by seeing this airplane.
And even for visitors without a personal connection to the B-17, the project is inspiring.
Such an iconic part of history. In fact, my kids and I have been building a plastic model of a B-17, oddly enough, before we came here, and I've been telling them stories about it and about World War II aviation in general, and it seems like we do keep coming back to the B-17 and the European theater and the little friends, you know, and my kids know about the P-51s and what they did, and just the whole thing makes a fascinating story.
You really see a goal, and then you see this. I mean, it's just absolutely inspiring to where you can accomplish anything you want to do.
Josh Cochran, AOPA Live.
Remarkable, a happy little bomber indeed. Jack's work was recognized with the Home Builders Major Achievement Award presented at AirVenture. So congratulations, Jack.
It's amazing what they've done. There are 4 large exhibit hangars filled with things to see at AirVenture, and one of the hottest booths this year was a company started by an 11-year-old boy so he could pay for flight training and college. Check out Chart It All.
My name is Trevor Simon. I am 15 years old now. I just turned 15 back in June, and I am the founder and CEO of Chart It All. And Chart It All, we're the company that creates all of your favorite custom aeronautical chart products. So we do the leggings, these shirts, the socks, the ties, the coffee mugs. We do everything, like literally everything, and everything is completely custom. That's what everyone loves about it. We do your home airport. We do where you first soloed. We can add a logo, text, whatever you want. So this is our first year exhibiting here at Oshkosh, and wow, it has been quite the experience. And you know, I've always had a real passion for flying. My dad's a photographer, my mom is a teacher, and you know, I certainly couldn't pay for avgas out of my pocket, so I started a company to supplement that. And so far, everything's been going really, really well. You know, people love the products because they're really great, and people actually get sentimental sometimes too. It's like, oh, I'm wearing the tie with this is the airport that I soloed at, you know, and people get to show it off. It's really cool. So you can order online at our website, chartitall.com, or you can come to the booth and order if you'd like. Everything's available online, and you just enter your airport code, any special instructions, upload a logo or a photo, and we make it happen. It's really easy to do.
Another interesting product isn't from a vendor at all. John Marzulli is a pilot from Seattle. He works in tech and has combined his skills and passion to create this heads-up display. The Stratux HUD costs less than $300 to make. It uses off-the-shelf components, and the brains of it all is a tiny computer.
And it's got this special case. So it's just a giant heatsink case, so I could make sure that it would withstand the heat of the Midwest and flying. So it's kind of a weird case, and it has 2 fans running off of it, but it's a standard Raspberry Pi 3, and it takes a 5-volt input, and it plugs into an HDMI cable into this switcher box right here, which I still need to tidy up and everything. And the switcher box runs all the way up through these cables up along to the automotive HUD projector. And this was $210 on sale for Father's Day. And the Raspberry Pi board was $35, and the case was like $30. And that's all you need. And the idea is that you can just sit in your cockpit and you look straight ahead, and the projection and all the information is out ahead of you somewhere near the propeller, and you see these nice little targeting reticles that give you an alert of how far a plane is, where it is, its proximity, its relative altitude, so you can keep your head out there scanning, looking for traffic.
And the best part, all the plans and programming are available for free on GitHub. Just search for Stratux HUD. There's some incredible numbers out there from this year. EAA says it's one for the record books. Get this, more than 600,000 people were there.
And 10,000 aircraft, 3,000 show airplanes, and people were there from 6 of the 7 continents. Pretty darn impressive. Hey, and at the show I ran into Dr. Michael Erb, head of AOPA Germany and the European VP of the International Council of Aircraft Owner and Pilot Associations, and Michael reminded me that I owed him one of our coveted AOPA Live This Week coffee mugs. I got him one from the AOPA store at Oshkosh, and he shared this with me and says, coffee never tasted so good. So good day, Michael. Enjoy the coffee. And hey, if you'd like to get one yourself, we have them in the AOPA store. Find that on our website.
If you've been on Facebook or Instagram this week, you've seen lots of people lamenting that Oshkosh is over. You may have to wait until next July to get your AirVenture fix, but there are plenty of other events coming up to scratch your fly-in itch. 3 of AOPA's regional fly-ins are coming up. We've got them in Santa Fe, New Mexico, Carbondale, Illinois, and in Gulf Shores, Alabama. Find more on our website. It's also likely that there's something going on near you this weekend. Go fly to a pancake breakfast or just fly for the fun of it.
That's it for this week. Thanks for being with us. Oshkosh was great. It's a wonderful week out there.
It was, and I like you, I've been to dozens and dozens. I've lost count. And this was probably, I'd mark this as one of the best in terms of the people, the energy, the weather. It was just an awesome experience. It never gets old.
It never does.
And with that, we'll leave you this week with a visit to the AirVenture Sea Base. It's like a whole other world of Oshkosh.
The AOPA World MasterCard delivers generous cashback rewards in all of your favorite aviation categories, so you can do more of what you love, flying. And because every purchase helps to support general aviation, every cardholder is helping to protect the freedom to fly. Apply now for the AOPA World MasterCard, the best card for pilots.